As you go through the rest of this week and you're coming off of Love Week, right? And all the flowers and the candy, and you got your sugar high under control, all that kind of stuff. Connection is also about love. Connection is about loving yourself enough to know that if you show up and when you show up, you have something to give. This week's episode of The Rutledge Perspective is about connections. And that seems really simple on the surface, but I want you to hang with me here. And we're going to go a little bit deeper on that idea of connection and the power of connections. And this was a topic that I had on my mind for quite a while. And then something happened this morning that I'll tell you about that said, nope, this is the thing you need to talk about today, especially as we're ending the month of February, the month of love. And I have so many people whose birthdays are in February that I love dearly. And so it's a special month. And connections is a piece of that, being connected to people and coming out of COVID and the world opening back up and us getting back together, COVID still being here. That idea of connection is so critical. So I want you to think about this for a moment when we speak of connections. We often say, especially in kind of a capitalistic society, they're just well connected. He's got connections. That's why he got that. Or she got connections. That's why she was able to be on the stage to do the thing, right? It's all about connections. And we know those industries or those companies where the connections is what gets you to the thing. And let's not undermine that, right? Because as you continue to move up in an organization, if you are working in a big corporation in particular, those connections, who knows you, really is a critical piece of that. That whole navigation as a senior executive is not about what you know. It's about who you know and who knows you and how savvy you are about the organization in which you are operating. When you're running your own business, those connections are the way you build equity. The connections are the way you get funding. The connections are the way you continue to retain clients, all the things, right? Connections are the way we get things done. But there's a little bit deeper piece of connections that I want you to think about because it has little to do with what it gives you directly and more to do with the impact that it serves, especially the impact that you are trying to make. So if you've been with me for a while, pretty much everything is about alignment, vision, action, right? Those 4 questions: who you are, where you are, what you want, and what it takes to get there. Those are the 4 things we really surround ourselves with and getting really aligned with who we are, being clear on what it is we want, and then moving into action, because a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? Well, here's the thing. When you really know who you are, you can show up with a level of confidence that allows you to connect to other people. I say all the time, I would love to work with you, but if I am not the right person, if I'm not your person, it's okay. I'm not offended. I have a really great network and I probably can connect you to someone that is the right person because it's not about me. I'm not here for me. I am here to serve. And when I serve, I believe that prosperity comes. When you're there for the right reason, the return is tenfold. So what happened this morning, and this is what I want you guys to think about, kind of impact and connections. And actually, I'm going to back up. When I was at a retreat in Mexico last year, it was a retreat I went to. I think I didn't record from there, but I did some postings from there with my coach, Rebecca and Thompson. And it was a fantastic retreat where we got to really reset, regroup for 2023. And as we were having a conversation, it was a really small group. I think there were 8 of us. Really small group. She does it small on purpose. As we'd have conversations about the topic at hand or what we were trying to do or where we were trying to move, to a person, I would say, oh, I need to connect you with so-and-so, or I need to connect you with so-and-so. And there was something about what they were saying, because I listen actively, right? There was something about what they were saying that made me think of someone else with whom I'd had a conversation or that I knew about or knew what they were trying to do. And I'm like, I need to connect these people because these people I know already. I know them well. I know what their heart is. I know what they're trying to do and I know where they're trying to move. And now I'm meeting these new people I'm like, wow, I really like their spirit, because you get a feel for people. I like their spirit. I like what they're doing. Let me at least connect them. If something happens, great. If not, at least there's people in their network. So I started connecting people. And at one point, one of the people there said, Laurel, you are just the great connector. Every time you always know somebody, right? You always know somebody to connect to. And it was such an interesting statement for me because I don't consider myself that person, that connector, because I don't know a lot of people because I don't get out a lot, right? I'm not trying to have tens of millions of followers. I'm not trying to be that girl, right? I am just trying to do really good work to serve and make an impact. And you guys, if you're listening to the radio show, you heard the final articulation. Ultimately, it's only taken me 6 years to get here. The final articulation of the big why around K through 12 education. That's my big, deep, overarching why. And then the why to get to that why is this service to all of you, this impact that I can make to you women business owners, and you first time, C-suite executives, just promoted to the C-suite or newly promoted to that executive rank. And so I'm listening to this conversation and listening to her saying, you're a great connector, you're a connector, you're a connector. And I'm thinking, no, I just know somebody who does this stuff that you say you need. And I think they're great people. And I think you're great people. And I think that would work. But that's what connection is. Connection is hearing what someone needs and being able to fulfill that need for them, or at least do something that's within your power to help fulfill that need. So that brings me to today. I was up working, trying to get ready to do some things. And I happened to flip on Facebook, and my producer, my radio show was on live. She has got shows during the week, right? And she was on live today. And the person she was interviewing is my new podcast producer, Jay Sutton, Destroying Doubt Media, FYI, look him up. Retired military vet as well. So, you're getting it all in all cylinders. And so I tuned in, and I try to tune in as much as I can. I don't catch her other shows as often as I'd like to, just because my schedule is so weird. But I do try to tune in, or at least go watch the replays. So this morning I had a ton of stuff going on, but I was like, you know what? Let me just tune in. And so I started listening to their conversations and what they were doing and how they were going. And it's phenomenal. So Jay had reached out to me. He had seen my podcast and said, hey, I'm looking for new clients, but I don't work with everybody, right? But I liked your message. Can we talk? Long story short, we ended up working together, and he's doing some great stuff on producing my podcast. And I said, I really want to do some behind the scenes for my radio show, because he does videography as well. And he has a television and radio background. And I was like, I'd really like to get some behind the scenes so I can put it on my website, those kind of things, for what I'm wanting to do going forward in this media space. And he said, sure. And I said, well, it's great, because then you can meet my producer too. Because she does a bunch of stuff. She does gospel plays. She does all kinds of productions. And she's doing some great things with the station. You get to see the station so you can figure out how we can do this for me. But in the meantime, you get to meet Jerry, because you never know what'll happen. I just think she's a good person for you to know. And you're good for her to know. So we meet, that was, very early in the conversation. We meet a couple of weeks ago. And he comes into the studio, and he's taking pictures and has done some great stuff for me, some great clips. And I need to post some of those for you, some great clips of behind the scenes. And as he was walking in and we're looking at kind of the studio, he's like, oh, these are really good mics. And I don't know what he's talking about, right? I've just got my little Yeti here. I'm doing good. And so he and Jerry start talking about equipment, and way over my head. I'm just setting up for the show. And then afterwards, as I'm getting things together, they talk about, hey, maybe there's some things that we can help with, blah, 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 blah. So today they started talking, and not only is Jay doing some things with and for Jerry, but he's getting ready to start his show. So he's coming back to radio, and he's producing another show that's on the station. And as I was listening to them, my heart just got so full. And here's the deal, y'all, about connections. My heart got so full because I was like, oh my gosh, I was able to connect these people. But my heart really got full because if you listen to their story, Jerry had been looking for a Jay, and Jay had been looking for a way to get back into radio. And I just happened to show up and be the conduit for that to happen. And here's the key for you when we talk about connections. And I was so not about me, but about knowing that there were issues that people were trying to deal with or things and dreams that they had. And if I could do something to connect people so they could move forward on their path, that's what I feel like I am put here to do, that I am intended to do, that my purpose is here to do, to make an impact. And to be able to now hear these two people going back and forth on the show, kidding each other. I mean, because y'all know Jerry, kidding each other about it. It was just such a beautiful moment and a true reflection of what it really means to be connected and to make connections and to be willing to sit in that space that says, let me be still. Let me be still and get really, really crystal clear on who I am and what the purpose is that I'm put here for. What is the impact I'm trying to make? Let me get really clear on that alignment. And then when I put out into the universe the things that I want to have happen, know without a doubt that what needs to show up in order for that to happen will show up. Those connections that you make, if you make those connections with good intention, with the intention for building a relationship, with the intention for understanding what you can do for the other person, not what they can do for you, the power in those connections is immeasurable. My friend Hong says all the time, we were talking about networking and introversion, and I was like, oh, I just hate it. And I do, y'all. I just hate networking for networking's sake, right? It just is not the way I'm wired. I love having conversations with people, right? And talking to people and being up on stages and all, none of that bothers me. But that whole networking to chit chat, just to chit chat and with everybody having an agenda of just business, that drives me crazy. And my friend Hong one time, she said, Laurel, I hate it too, but here's what I do. Every time I walk into a room, I say, please let me be a solution for someone who needs me in this room. Please let that one person who needs me be able to find me and allow me to show up in a way that serves them. And I thought that was so powerful. It's not about trying to meet everybody in the room. It's not about trying to get as many business cards or NFC, taps as you can get. It's not about that. The connection is about service. The connection is about impact. The connection is about how we can combine our resources, our genius, and collaborate on the greater good. That's what connection is about. And we lost a lot of connection during COVID, right? All of us got to that place where it's like, oh my gosh, I just need to see people. Even me, when I was getting to the point where it's like, my God, I need to go see some people. I need to get out of my house. Y'all know it was bad when I was to that point. And we missed that connection. And there is something powerful in that face-to-face, hand-to-hand, eye-to-eye connection. There's power in that. There's impact in that, both good and bad. But that connection that we have as people, that heart connection, mind connection, eye connection, builds relationships and builds capabilities that can't be built just through Zoom or just through audio, right? We are beings that like to be in community, right? We are beings and animals and have nervous systems that enjoy being in community, right? And so as you go through the rest of this month, we got a few more days left in this month before we head into Women's History Month. And I got some really great things coming for you in Women's History Month, as well as some announcements coming for you around how you can work with me in 2023. Some real clarity on my own part, right? Physician Heal Thyself. There's some real clarity work that I've been doing, some really deep work that I've been doing in order to serve and to connect with you. And so you will see some things coming your way about how to connect and how we can work together. And how, even if I'm not your person, maybe there's someone else who could use the services, or that I can connect with someone else, right? Because it's all symbiotic. As you go through the rest of this week and you're coming off of Love Week, right? And all the flowers and the candy, and you got your sugar high under control, all that kind of stuff. Connection is also about love. Connection is about loving yourself enough to know that if you show up and when you show up, you have something to give. You have something that is powerful. You have something that someone else needs. You are a solution to someone else's problem. And by showing up and being willing to be open and to be a vessel, right? To be used for that purpose, you are showing a level of self-love and love to others through the impact that you're willing to make by simply showing up and getting connected. And it's not IG and LinkedIn and Facebook. Those things are simply tools. They're just tools. The connection is deeper. The connection is about who are you? What drives you? What makes you tick, right? What are your hopes and dreams? And what do I know? And who do I know that might be able to help facilitate that? Again, it was such a big heart overflowing moment for me to hear them this morning. Number one, because the conversation was so silly, but to see these two people that I had the opportunity to connect. And it was truly an opportunity. It was a God wink to connect these people. Had Jay not reached out to me, had I not been in a position where I really was looking for a new podcast producer, had Jerry not seen something in me to have me start the show in the first place, had I not done the deep work to know where I need to move and know that there's some resources I'm starting to put around me so that I am making the best use of my genius by engaging people and utilizing their genius to serve me so I can serve others, right? Had I not made those connections, both to my own needs, desires, genius, as well as the connections to others, this never would have happened today. And I wouldn't be where I am today. And neither would you. So as you go forth this week, think deep about the connections that you have, the connections that you want to have, the connections that you can make for others, because servant leadership is not about you. Leadership is not about you. Leadership is about the people to, with, and through you get things done. That's what it's about, right? It's about everyone else when you're in leadership. It's not about you. So for those of you who are making your first foray into the C-suite or direct reports to the C-suite, I see you. Yes, you got to make those connections, but find those deep heart connections too, those deep soul connections, that village that can help you navigate through as your chief navigation officer, right? That can help you navigate through that new world because it is different when you get there. Business owners, in particular, women business owners, what is that connection you can make, your village, that really helps you sit in that deep why of why you started the business in the first place? So you can continue to lead with your heart, but act with your head because you got a business to run. You got a business to run that's got a deeper why. And because of that deep why, you might have to make some really tough decisions. But as long as you are leading with your heart and you're making those tough decisions with your head, you will be able to sit in that why deeply and stay connected to that, connected to who you are, connected to where you are, connected to what it is you want and what it's going to take for you to get there. And you'll be able to connect others to do the same thing, right? We build ourselves by building up others, right? Each one reach one, each one teach one, right? It takes a village. That's why I use village and not tribe, right? It takes a village, right? To raise a child. It takes a village to raise a chief navigation officer. It takes a village of connections, right? So stay connected to who you are. Stay connected to your bigger why, your bigger purpose. Stay open and see and hear those things that come to you as opportunities for you to deliver on your purpose. And look for opportunities to connect to other people because it's not about you. You're trying to help and impact them. And sometimes that's through connecting them with somebody else because you are just not their person. And that's okay. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to the Rutledge Perspective podcast. I really appreciate every listen, every download. Please, if this made sense to you, I would appreciate you sharing it with someone that you know who could get something out of it. And when you have a minute, please go out to your favorite platform, in particular, Apple and Spotify help a lot, to give a 5-star review because that helps us get in front of more people and impact and connect more people to the message. and therefore connect them to others to get to their dreams as well. Because there is plenty for everyone. It is not pie, right? When I get my slice, that doesn't mean there's no more pie for you. There is plenty for everyone. And through those connections, we all find our piece of that enormous unending pie. Have a fantastic week. Next week, I'm going to do a really quick, different kind of podcast episode. I'm going to actually put out the fireside episode that I did last week with the 3 doctors that was so powerful around heart health. So we're going to kick off Women's History Month with that, because heart disease is one of the biggest killers right now of all people, but in particular, heart disease is really impacting women and communities of color. So I want you to hear what these physicians have to say about that topic and some things that you can do to take control of your own health. Have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. You have been listening to the Rutledge Perspective Podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and for connecting. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on my website at laurelrutledge.com/podcast. You can also find me on social media at Laurel K. Rutledge and/or The Rutledge Perspective. And I'd love your perspective on the things we talk about. And if there's a specific topic you want me to cover, just let me know. And please share this podcast with someone in your village who may need this little piece of perspective today. And if you're so inclined, I would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review on the platform of your choice. Apple Podcasts and Spotify reviews are particularly helpful. Thank you again for listening. Take care.